In this video, we will focus on adding in some highlight and shadow to our animal sketches. Notice that now in this video in particular, I have a gray background or a tonal background. This is so that when I finally go ahead and add in my highlights that they will be visible. Ideally, if you are ever to go live drawing and do some sketches on your own, have tonal paper with you. I personally have a sketchbook that comes in like 2 or 3 different shades, and whenever I actually do live drawing, when I do visit the zoo, I make sure to have my highlighter with me and my markers so I can go ahead and add in that range of shadow and lighting. Adding shadow and lighting to your sketch is another very quick way of getting the basic understanding of your drawing across. I like to use shadow quite often whenever I'm sketching. And it's not something that I would add right at the end, it's something that I would add as I'm drawing. Because shadows can be a very good indicator of showing us where certain things are. Like I showed you in the previous video, whenever we break down our sketches into shapes, we're able to kind of understand the different planes that make up our animals, that make up our sketches. And by doing that, by adding in the highlights, we're able to really emphasize those planes. So the shadow kind of helps me understand that, hey, this particular shape is at the bottom, this particular shape is not facing in the light, or this shadow is going in this direction. So all of this is a very clear indicator to let the viewer and me understand how this particular animal is built up, how this particular pose makes sense. Now, as I'm doing my sketch, I'm actually drawing in these lines, and this is almost kind of a way to replicate fur. Do you see I'm drawing these very quick lines going across almost vertically? This is a really simple way that you can get the indication of fur as well as showing shape whenever you're doing your drawing and when you're drawing animals. I like to kind of do this often, and you don't have to overthink it. You can just draw these very loose lines kind of coming out, and this is a very another very quick method when it comes to animal sketching. And now, using a very thin kind of highlighter brush, I'm on a new layer. I'm just going to create a very thin line that's going to give you an indication of where the light is coming from. And I'm not adding in too much lighting. The gray tone that I have on my page is basically the base tone, and this thin highlight I'm adding is just to show you that there's a plane, that there's a dimension that's facing in a direction that we cannot see, since this is a profile pose. So just by doing this very thin indication of lighting right there, I'm able to actually convey quite a bit. Now I want to go ahead and take another photo reference, and let's go ahead and try attempting to do another sketch using just shadows and lighting. And I'm going to again start out similarly as I did in the previous sketches. It's just by doing a basic outline gesture first of my bear character, and then I'm going to go in there and just start adding in some depth and dimension using big shapes and shadows. And remember to work very loose whenever you're doing your gesture drawing. I'm trying to get as much of that movement as I possibly can. Sometimes when I, do my gesture sketch, I really try to think of it like water almost, flowing down and going, over the animal. It's a really nice way for me to visualize the silhouette of my character. It's like what direction is the animal moving in? What direction should the line be in? And I almost imagine it's like water trickling down over it. So think about that. Whatever helps you kind of understand your sketch better. And now on a new layer, what I'm doing is I'm actually defining elements of my bear. This is again kind of adding in the shape. I'm adding in the overlapping lines. This helps me understand perspective and helps me understand what shape is in the foreground and what shape is in the background. And I'm going to keep doing that until I finish sketching out the entire bear before I actually go ahead and jump in with adding in the shadows. I'll go ahead and add in those kind of furry lines to indicate where his jawline is, and by doing those quick line strokes, it helps me give an indication of fur as well. And now let's go ahead and start adding in that shadow I mentioned earlier in the video. So on a new layer, making sure that you are on a multiply layer, let's, with a nice big brush, start adding in a loose, very loose indication of where all the dark parts of our bear are. If you look at the photo reference, right, I'm essentially just replicating that what I see. So, there's a big dark patch here down by his feet. I covered his big paws as well. I did some shadow underneath his neck and on the side of his face. And, I'm going to continue to keep looking for that as I'm sketching. And now I've gone ahead and selected a much darker black, and again with my big brush, I'm just going in there and laying down the slightly darker shapes that I see in my photo reference. And sometimes right now when you look at the shapes, they can feel like they're very, they may be all over the place. Try squinting. Squinting is a trick that I learned in school, especially when you're looking at a shape that is, that's quite big and has all these confusing patterns all over. When you squint, your eye is able to really reduce that chaos and help you understand the shape of what you're drawing. So, try that method. It's been very helpful for me throughout my career, and it's something that I never fail to do. I've even developed like little crow's feet on the side of my eyes from squinting so much. So this is something that I've also learned to do, especially when I am sketching from life. When you're sketching animals from life and they're moving so fast, sometimes just drawing them in these big shadowy shapes is a very quick and efficient way to get across the sketch of your animal. And now I'm just going to go ahead and select another lighter color and again just add in that very light highlight all over my bear sketch. So yeah, this is a very nice, quick, efficient way of trying and practicing different methods for approaching animal drawing. I've explained gestures, I've explained shapes, anatomy, lighting, and shadows. So, try all these different methods, try them all together, try 2 of them at a time, just play with it and have fun with it. And now in our next video, we will take a brief look at all the different kind of bear character designs that we see in media today. We're going to take a look at these bears and try and understand the inspiration behind them and what makes them iconic and unique, yet feel like they come from the same family.